Allow me to take you on a journey as we explore the work and successes of Mohlalefi Engineering, a company in the engineering sector based in Alberton, Gauteng. They are one of the black industrialists in South Africa. Let us hear their story and just how they've emerged as recognizable industrialists amidst the various challenges that may have come their way. Martin, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you this morning, and I appreciate it. I want to start with the part that I think inspire me and will inspire a lot of people, starting with your background. I mean, I was quite impressed. You're from Orange Farm. Tell me the story of Orange Farm.
So I was born in Soweto, but at a very young age moved to Orange Farm. That's where I was bred, did my primary schooling and high schooling. Matriculated in 2004. Got good results, and from that got a bursary to study at Wits. Actually, my first year was funded by the IDC at Wits, and I did my undergrad and eventually my master's. But bred in Orange Farm.
Yeah. So when did you enter industry? Where did you get your first job?
My first job was with the Nuclear Energy Corporation of South Africa in Pelindaba. I started there as a graduate engineer. Then I moved to the mineral processing space, energy as well. Then eventually in mining, where we're doing underground roof support. So we was in industry for about 6 years before I started Mohlalefi 5 years ago.
Yeah. Now, did you always have the ambition of running your own operation? Because, it's not easy to start a business and to sustain it, to stay in the business.
Yes, running my own operation has always been my goal. When I finished my undergrad at Wits, I realized that, I was not ready to go into industry because I had not figured out, the kind of business I wanted to start. That's what made me to do my master's. It was a good year for me to reflect and exactly what I wanted to do. So from then on, it was just building up, looking at opportunities in different industries. So I've always had the dream to start my own company. And grow in industry as a key player from the outset. And of course, when the opportunity presented itself, then I grabbed it with both hands.
And how did you decide which area to go into? I mean, what generated the interest and appetite to go into this particular sector and choose the niche that you're in?
So manufacturing was an obvious choice for me, with regards to adding value, with regards to the greater impact that it has in society, and manufacturing linked with mining also became an obvious choice because of the background that I had and the challenges that I understood the mining underground safety had, and combining the two felt naturally. So underground, with your safety and the safety critical components that are supplied and contributing towards that, and the sustainability of mining and the safety aspect of it. So the manufacturing element is also speaks to my strength, that is a strong R&D background and an understanding of how different things work. So I could tailor make having the manufacturing element to bring about a solution in an industry that I was exposed to.
Most people, when they go into business, complain or are faced with the challenge of barriers to entry. So how did you overcome that?
Barriers to entry, remains a very big challenge. So in our early stages, managing cost was very critical, or rather pricing competitively, because cost with your mines, in most cases would be your order winner. So order qualifiers, your product being technically competent, meeting the specifications, every supplier would have to have that. But to be a supplier of choice, if you offer a competitive price, then you are likely to get the work. So now you can imagine, as a starting company, we are competing with well-established companies who can manage their cost better because of their scales and facilities they would have with suppliers. And on our end, we do not have any facilities. We do not have any long-term relationships with suppliers. We'd actually have to pay cash for any raw materials that we consumed. However, even with those challenges, we still priced competitively, such that as an order winner with the mines would still consider using our products. Of course, that resulted in huge losses at the beginning, which we had to absorb. But the long-term plan was that we are given an opportunity to introduce our product and grow it from there.
And of course, assistance is always needed, especially in the early days of the operation. What kind of support did you get, and from where?
Once we had proven our product and managed to grow the number of units that we were supplying with our anchor client, then we had a production process that was set up and a product that we could produce consistently. And that's when the National Empowerment Fund came on board. We had a product that sold with some proven track record in the first 2 years, and we also had projections which we could back up with some historical data. And the NEF came on board to acquire 49% of the company and made an investment of 15 million. Which is what was used to establish this facility.
Sure. And what is the size of the business now in terms of the number of people that with that kind of investment, the number of people that you employ and the revenues that you are generating?
Yeah, revenue, we are sitting at about 41 million from the previous financial year. We employ about 57 people now, with 36 of them being permanent, mainly based here at the factory, but we also have officers, or rather technical staff that is based at the mines to address different issues on a daily basis.
Yeah. And the number of clients that you've been able to acquire, if you can take me back to the early days, because in your line, this type of engineering work that you do here, I suppose it's not easy to establish business relations and become a supplier to some of the more established mines who may have long-term relationships with their old suppliers.
So our anchor client is a mine in Limpopo. They had a need for a specific product which the market could not offer at the time, and we started with the one client in one shaft. They have 2 shafts at the mine, so we started with one section. We were trialing the product in the first year in that one particular section, then we grew into other sections, and then eventually became the full shaft. So we have our anchor client who's in the platinum space. Can I mention that client?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So we had at the mine, at the beginning, the mine was owned by Glenco. So Glenco was our anchor client in the Mototolo, and that's the Borwa and the Buas shaft, platinum. And then that mine was eventually taken over by Anglo. So we supplied Glenco, who is now Anglo, the platinum operations, and then we moved over to supply their chrome operations as well. So currently we supply Anglo, we supply Glenco, we supply Sianda Bakhatla in Swartlip. We have supplied several mines in Rustenburg as well, and we also do exports to Zimbabwe, Zambia, some directly, some through agents, and we're now looking to venture into the Congo as well.
Yeah. So over the maybe 3-4 years of now being established at this factory, you have met with some challenges, I'd like to believe. I mean, what are those challenges, and how did you overcome them?
One big challenge, the customers we supply, your Anglos, your Glenco, are very strict on compliance when it comes to delivery. Because what we supply is critical to the mine keeping up with safety and being able to get a blast. So what we supply has an impact on the mine getting a blast, and no mine wants to lose a blast. So being a small player and being given such a big responsibility, requires management of your resources very, very effectively and efficiently. So working capital becomes a problem, being that I have a customer that will not compromise on what they need from me in terms of compliance, and at the same time I have suppliers who will not give me facilities, and I have to manage in between that. So cash flow becomes a challenge in that we have to pay upfront for our steel products, and at the same time be able to meet the demand that the mines have. So cash flow is one of the big challenges, something that we need to manage very closely, and access to market as well. It's because of your cost element being the order winner. To price competitively with all these limitations and competing with bigger companies. We are the only black youth-owned company in the space, and all our competitors are big, well-established companies. So that on its own is also a challenge.
So how did you overcome that? Are you getting any support from anywhere, and what kind of support are you getting? You mentioned cash flow as an example.
So when the NEF came on board, there was a relief on our side. They assisted us to acquire these machines. They also assisted with working capital. However, we have now outgrown that expansion phase, or rather that initial investment phase. We are now looking to grow further, because of the demand and our product offering, the interest in our product offering. We are currently strained in terms of capacity, and more so in terms of working capital and some cash flow challenges. So now moving into the next phase, that's where we are now looking for an even bigger investment. Our application with the IDC and the DTI is now at an advanced stage, busy with the due diligence stage. We've had them come to the factory a few times, interact with us with all the financial models and all the motivation. So for now, it's a next transition as well, moving into a bigger space. So we have outgrown where we are now, and the transition is also a challenge in managing working capital, keeping up with the demand, overworking our machines, sweating them, very as much as we can.
So I'd like to believe that you are growing your client base, and then the demand is growing from their side as well. But any intention to go into other markets, other countries, for instance, maybe selling into those countries or even operating from there?
Yes. So within the cable anchor market, so your roof support market in South Africa is estimated at about 6-7 billion rands. But the specific market in which you compete, which is the cable anchors, of which we have about 6% of currently, is about 1 billion rands. So with the expansion, we are looking to participate within the full 7 billion in the South African markets. So it's growing with our clients that are expanding their operations. A few of our clients are expanding their operations in the Limpopo area. So we are looking to expand and grow with them in that regard, and also reaching other areas in the country where we are not supplying yet. And the big contribution as well to our increased revenue will also come from neighboring countries, Zimbabwe and Zambia. We've already started to supply in Zambia, trialing as well, introducing our product, and growth will also come from the DRC, where we are also establishing a footprint so that we can access those markets.
How are you going to operate in those countries? Are you taking South African partners with you into Zimbabwe, Congo, or anywhere else in the world, or are you going to work with the locals in those respective countries?
Yeah, the same as in South Africa with the localization. Zimbabwe, the Congo have a similar approach in that they would empower majority owned local entities. So we have an established company in the Congo, Mohlalefi for Congo, M4Z, because the guys with the French background, pronunciation of Mohlalefi, so we just call it M4C, Mohlalefi for Congo. So we have a local partner there. We own 49% of the entity. Similarly, in Zimbabwe, we own 49% of Mohlalefi for Zimbabwe. These are registered entities, already trading at small scale, and the bigger goal is to link it with Mohlalefi Engineering, and that will expand our reach in the continent. We've also had inquiries beyond the continent, from as far as Mexico. So there's no limit as to where we can supply. So exports will be a big part of our expansion program.
With the experience that you've acquired over the past few years, I'm sure you've learned a few things now, and there are, let me call them, industry-specific or sector-specific type of problems. In your case, what would you say those are that, a lot, like let me call them constraints on the business? You'd have probably wanted to expand at a much faster pace than you are able to, besides the cash flow issues and capacity issues. What would those be typically?
So that would be the trust that you get with the mine and the introduction of the product, because of what the product does and it being safety critical. It's a rigorous process to introduce a product, do the management of change, and get the product fully adopted by the mine. So that remains a critical step in us accessing the market. Over and above having an introduction, but it's actually going through that phase. So that phase of the introduction of the product for the change management is a big challenge, but we have strategies around how we manage that. And again, with regards to getting work, so your order winner, we can have our product as technically competent as it is and outperforming our competitors. It's important, to some of our clients, but the overwhelming majority of our clients consider cost as what is important for you to be given the work.
Well, for a business to remain profitable and sustainable, it needs to grow, obviously, and that's why you're moving into new markets as well. But there's also the South African specific issue of transformation. Your views regarding that?
My view is that there is the drive from government, from the legislation point of view, to accelerate transformation. However, in the implementation, this is now at an operational level. So at a board level, at an executive level, I think it's clearly outlined and what the targets are. However, in your day-to-day running of operations, this is now your tender committees, this is now your mine managers who make the daily decisions of who gets the work. Now your decision makers on a day-to-day operation are also given a mandate to be profitable and cut costs. So you have these competing aspects of profitability and empowerment, and most often than not, you would get profit being prioritized, and that remains a bigger challenge, to access to market. So there is a drive for transformation. However, in the implementation and the follow-through, to ensure that beyond the executive and the board level, that it filters down into the operations in all those remote areas where decisions are made independently. The follow-through is necessary and important.
And your views regarding the Black Industrialist scheme, the program that's currently being implemented by government, what do you think?
The scheme is necessary and very vital in that it allows black players to participate in industrialization, and linking this with the Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 9, which speaks to industrialization, which is inclusive. And it's not only growth of the country in terms of GDP, in terms of improvement in employment, but we are looking at inclusivity as well. So the Black Industrialist program is key in achieving that, in affording the previously disadvantaged the opportunity to participate in areas where they would traditionally not have participated, and to impact the broader society in doing so.
Martin, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
No, thank
and
you
good luck to you and your team here.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. Sure, bye. Cheers.